Hello guys, welcome to next session on Oracle Server Suite 12c. So today we will again do some activities, again try to learn some things in BPEL, okay, which are mostly used in common, which are mostly used in our regular projects. And then we'll also look at another very useful framework called event-driven architecture. Okay. So before that, yesterday we have done fault management, fault handling, right, using fault management framework, and we understood that just by using two files called fault policies and fault bindings, like we could achieve the fault management framework, and we just placed it at the composite level, correct? Now, let's say you have multiple composites, and I mean you are in an enterprise, right? Like you are in a company, so usually the rules would be the fault management would usually be the same for your entire enterprise. Like whether you would be having like hundreds of composites, but you would follow the same fault management uh, handling. Basically, you would handle faults in a similar way across your composites. In that case, like when you store it in locally, then in each of your 100 composites, like you have to store the files, right? And it's redundant. So instead, what you can do is you can publish those two to MDS. You know how to publish, right? You can either make a jar and make a SOA bundle out of it and then publish it, or just right click option. So either way, you can publish it to MDS, and then how you refer to the file is you just go to the composite and go to the source. Okay, so in the source, like you will see these two properties by default. I mean, you will see the product version and composite ID. So under that, you just give two properties, and the property names are Oracle Composite Fault Policy file and Oracle Composite Fault Binding file. So against this, you will have to give your MDS path. Okay. So in our case, let's say, uh, I mean, I haven't published it here, but let us assume that I have published it into a folder, something like this. Okay, for example, this purchasing schema.xsd, the path for it would be aura mds : this is the standard format, /apps /shade schema /purchasing schema. So basically it follows the folder structure. Similarly, you would put that in some folder, right, when you publish it. So you just give the whole path with a prefix called aura mds. Okay, and automatically your fault policies would be picked up from your composite. Like, so you don't have to store them locally in all your composites. Instead, you can publish them to MDs. Okay. So that's a small thing that I wanted to tell you. I mean, actually, Shankar has asked me like how to do this. So this is the way we do it. Okay. I'm pasting that. I mean, you can just write it on your own, but I'm just pasting it in the chat box so that you can just copy it and put it for your reference. I'll send this in the email also. Okay. Yep. Okay, this is done. And today we will learn about two other activities which are most commonly used. Okay, usually, I mean, till now we are just dealing with a single record, or even if it is like multiple instances, we just used a for each in the XLT, right? So today we will see how to use for each in your BPEL process. Okay, like when you have an array of records, we will see like how do we deal with array of records in your BPEL process. So let's say you have like 10 employees. So for each employee, you want to invoke another service. Okay, so you want to put that in a for loop or a while loop. So we will learn those two concepts today. So let me create a new project. I would say looping through arrays. Okay, and an empty composite. Let's quickly do it. We already have this service, right, wherein it takes a department ID and it gives you multiple employees. Okay, so we will use this service, but now let's create a schema. Okay, I won't explain you much on the schema part because you already know it. So let me quickly create it. I would say give some name, doesn't matter. The input for this would be department ID, and then let's define a complex type for individual employee. Okay, and then let me create a sequence and then say full name. What does it return? I mean, this service returns full name and salary, right? So let me create another one for salary. Actually, if these are in MDS, like we need not do it again. So always double. And then you have an element called employee, which is a type individual employee. Okay, and then let's define employee list, which would be an type individual employee, and then this is unbounded. Okay, so we have this, and then create an element called employee list. I would say this is employee list type, just to differentiate. Okay, types are all complex types. Which is the type employee list type. Okay. Let's say the schema is valid, yes, as well. See, I haven't done anything crazy here, just a simple schema. Okay, and see, till now, like I was just morely concentrating on creating the elements, right? Though it is like an array, I was more concentrating on doing the elements. But in this example, I actually created a complex type also. Like you might think like this is there, right? Then what is the purpose of this? You'll understand in a moment when you create variables in BPEL. In BPEL, you create variables out of the type, not the element. Whereas when you are creating the visitors, you create it based on now elements, not types. Okay, there's a subtle difference. So let me show you. Okay, so let me create a BPEL process. Let us say it as loop through array, which is a synchronous process. Okay, see here inputs and outputs. You when I open it, see I had types and I had elements, right? But if you see, you can only see elements here. Okay, so my input is department ID, and then my output is employee list. Okay, and then I'll just leave everything default. Okay, I'm done. Okay, so what I'm trying to do is we will basically we wanted to learn looping through arrays, right? Okay, so in this BPEL process, we will call the employee service, wherein we pass the department ID and we get the list of employees. Okay, and for each employee in the list, we will try to call another service. Okay, so let's say you have 10 employees. So on the fly, we will loop through each employee like 1, 2, 3, and so on. And for each employee, we'll call an external service. So in this case, this guy gives me salary and full name, right? So let us try to use the currency conversion service. Let's assume that the salary is in dollars, and we will call the external service to get the amount in rupees, okay, or Indian rupees. So what I'm trying to explain is how you loop through arrays, and then you within that how you call for each element in the array. Okay, so let's say if the service was down earlier, even initially also it was down, right? So let's see if it is working or not. USD INR. Okay, seems like it is still down. So we'll we'll quickly create our own service. Okay. Like whenever something is done, when you're learning something, like you need services to uh, learn BPEL, right? So you can always create your own services. It's very simple. Like if you know Java or SQL, anything. So I would say currency conversion service. Okay, finish it off. And then here I'll create a Java class. Or you can search internet for a freely available service. Okay, so say public double is the return type. Say convert into INR. Okay, and my input is double. Say currency amount in dollars, and I would return. Say today, let's assume the currency conversion rate is 66.5. Okay, this is what we paid. Maybe let us try to print it. Okay, so after you write your Java class, you just right click on that and say create web service. Okay, JDeveloper does everything for you. I'm not going through all this because we just wanted a service, so I'm quickly creating the service for you. Finish it off. Okay, so once you finish it off, you go to project properties and go to Java EE application. Okay, so this is the name through which you will see your application deployed. Okay, so if you don't like this name, you can always change this name to anything, and then your application will be with this name. Okay, let me deploy it. This is all non-SOA stuff. Okay, I'm just deploying it to SOA server so that the application is available there. It's deployed, so let me see. Okay, this is the one, right? So here you see. So if you don't like the name, you can, I've created another one earlier, so you can always give your own name. So when you click on this, or you might open this, and when you click on this, here you see a test. Just click on that. Okay, and then this is the web service URL. So ultimately we wanted this. So let's test it first of all, whether it is working or not. Let's say $100 is 6,650 rupees. Okay, so it's working. And let me see if the VSTL is proper. Yes, the VSTL is proper. Okay, so I have this currency conversion service which I wanted to call for each employee, right? So how do you call an external service? You just create a SOAP web service. So I would say currency conversion reference. Just give a tag. You can copy or not copy your wish. Okay. Yep. So my currency conversion service is done, and I also wanted to call my DB service, right? Let me get the VSTL. Service. Yesterday we made it down. Okay, let's make it up and down. Let us try it out if it's working or not. Perfect, it is working. Okay, so this is returning me a list of employees. This is what I wanted. So let me copy this. Just let me say localhost. Create another reference. So I would say, what is this? Employee service reference. I'm a little fast here because this is not what I wanted to show. I wanted to show you something else. Okay. So now that we have all the prerequisites. Okay. So basically what I've done is I created a BPEL and then I created references. Okay. So initially, first of all, we'll call this employee reference service and then get the result. So get the array, and then we will learn how to loop through the arrays. Okay. If you don't like it to the left, it's very simple. So just set display and move to opposite swim lane. It is just for your convenience. Whether it is left or right doesn't make any sense. Okay. It is just for your convenience. So let me create a scope. So always, like, your thumb rule has to be put a scope whenever you are invoking something, because you know the advantages of it. Employee list. That's this one. I would say invoke employee service. Okay, and then I don't like all this. So I want to put my local input variables as local and output variables as global, because I want to access output variables later outside the scope, and then finish it up. Okay. So I want to stuff my input. It takes department ID, right? So I would say assign department ID. So department ID is the input of my BPEL, which I will pass to the input of the full name service, or say employee service. Okay. So the response of this, now what happens, basically what we did is we invoke this one. So after this point, so basically at this point, you have all the list of employees. Okay. So now what we wanted to do is, like, we have different lists. So what I want to do is, I want to loop through all these one after the other. So first I get first employee, and then he has a full name and a salary, right? So I will take that salary, pass to this service, and get the amount in rupees. Okay. And then I will display it to the output. Okay. So even in my output, like, I should have an array of employees, right? So here what am I doing? I'm taking one after the, I'm processing one after the other, right? After first is done, I'll take the second one, and then again you invoke it, get it back. Again third, you invoke it, get it back, and all the result you will append it. Okay, so the combination of all this is nothing but the output, right? So what I will do is, in a loop, I will invoke and then append the result. Okay, and do this. Okay, and if you look at your component palette, window components, there are two ways of working with your variables. Okay, in fact there are three ways of looping through your variables. So the first one is a while loop. Okay, while loop is similar to your Java while loop. As long as the condition is satisfied, like, it goes through the loop. Okay, and then there is a for each. For each is also exactly same as Java for each. So for each, I mean, let's say you have 10 elements. For each of the 10 element, what you want to do. Okay, so let's learn both of these two. And then the third way of looping through your XML is XSLT. Okay, but XSLT, they when you want to invoke something by looping, like, you cannot use XSLT. You can either use for each or while. But if you have the whole array and, like, you want to manipulate by looping through it, the best way is XSLT. There is nothing better than XSLT. So in this example, like, we will learn both while and for each at a single go. Okay, what we will do is, instead of, or let me do it one after the other so that you won't get confused. Okay, so you know that this returns a list. So what we will do is, we want to loop through each, right? So after this one, I'll drag and drop a for each. Okay, and double click on this. Now what is that I want? For each employee record, this is just a name. Okay, and you give the counter name. Okay, so what this counter name means is, this is the result, right? Like, how many employees you have? 1 2 3 4 5 6. Okay, so the counter here is 6, and you want to keep it in some variable, right? So this is the variable name. I would say it as employee counter. Okay, and then what are the counter values? Like what is the first value and the last value? First value is 1. You start with 1. Is it 1 or 0? This is always confusing. Like arrays, some arrays start with 0, some arrays start with 1. Just a moment, I think it is 0. Okay, our so arrays start with 1. Okay, so my start value is 1, and what is my end value? Okay, so here in this case my start value is 1, so it checks with first employee. And what should be my end value? My end value would be the count of number of employees, right? So how do I do it? So in my this is the output variable which contains the employees, right? So just go down, and this is what is repeating, correct? Under employee list you have employee, under employee list you have employee. So I will say count of, you actually have this function here somewhere in mathematical function or something, XML function, but okay, count of this tag. Okay, so basically this is what is repeating, right? So when I say count of this tag, it basically counts the number of employees within your response. Okay, and then I say okay. Okay, so let me go through that again. This one is a current counter. Okay, so when you are in the first record, the current counter value is 1. When you are in second record, value is 2. Okay, just like this. I mean, if you are aware of Java, you would say something like this, right? For int I equal to 0, I less than 10, or say I less than count of your employees, I plus plus, right? And then here you have all the code, whatever you want, correct? And then you close the loop. Now here in this case, this I, it always increments, right? It starts from 0 and it ends till the count, and then it always increments, right? So this I is nothing but the employee counter here. Okay, the current value of the counter, and then this is the start value and this is the final value. Okay, now inside this you will get the nth employee. Okay, so first or second, whatever it is, the nth employee. What is the error we have here? Scope as one validation error. What is that? Okay, maybe we haven't defined anything, right? Okay, fine. Click the validation report, no activity. Okay. Mhm. So what do we want to do? For each employee, I want to invoke this service, right? Currency conversion service. Okay. So what I will do is I will just drag and drop and invoke activity inside that. And I would say invoke currency conversion service. Okay. And then the input would be a local variable. I would say variable, and then out I would say actually I want to use it within. That's it. Okay. So I have this, and I have the currency conversion service, and this takes in salary in dollars, right? Okay. So what do? I'll create an assign. I will say assign salary in dollars, so that it gives me salary in rupees. Okay. Now you try to understand, right? Try to think. Okay. So where is my? Okay. This contains the list of employees, correct? Like this contains like 10 employees. Though the XML schema or XML representation here shows you 1, but besides that you see something like a ladder, right? Like this is basically what it means is it is an array, like it repeats. Okay, the symbol that you see here, this one basically represents array. Okay, you don't see it. Okay, So what I want to do, I want to send this salary to the input of currency conversion service. Okay, that is what we are doing till now. Okay, we are good. But basically this one will be there 10 times, right, in your output. Like in your employee list, if there are 10 employees, this tag would be there 10 times. What you want to do, like you want to send nth employee's salary. Okay, you are looping it. So first, when you are in the first loop, you want to send the first employee's salary. When you are in the second loop, you want to send the second employee's salary. So when I do like this, it always sends the, by default it always assumes first row. Okay, so when I do this, it always sends the, I mean, even if the loop goes through 10 times, it always sends the first salary. So instead, if you want to have the nth element, there is a function which is in advanced. Hey, what happened? Why are we facing this issue again and again? It's not showing me the list of options. It happened with our DBM also earlier. And this, okay, but anyways, I know the syntax. Let me tell you the syntax. Okay, it's very simple. Aura get element, and then the syntax would be something like this, like var name, part name, and then xpath of the uh, of the field, and then counter. Okay, so it is something like this. So I would say aura get element. What is the variable name? Variable name is this one, right? This is little tricky. Okay, so just, I mean, you need to get familiar with all this, only then you can do it. But the easiest ways to do is, this is what you wanted, right? So just do it, write it in another line. Okay, so this is my variable without the dollar. So just copy it. My first argument is variable name. Okay, and my second argument is the part name. Part is part one here. And my third, okay, it has to be in single quotes. Okay, and my third one is the XPath of salary. XPath of salary is this one, right? Employee slash salary with the namespaces.
Hey Ravi, Kumar here. You
Yeah,
can
Kumar.
also write the comments in the window, this expression window.
Sorry? No,
You can
you
also
cannot
write
write
comments.
comments.
You can't write comments.
No.
Okay,
Actually,
because
what
the
happens
position.
is, like, whenever you click on the, I mean, I am not able to see this one window here, but when I did it in the morning, like, I just wanted to review it, but I got it. Like, even in the other projects, if you go, you'll get it. But when you get it, when you click on something, like, you get the syntax here. Okay, so
No,
don't
no,
worry.
I'm not talking about this one. I'm talking about in the expression above. Okay, if I want to say what is this logic is going to perform, which normally we write in program comments, right?
Okay, I'll show you where to write comments. Definitely not in the expression window, but there is
Mm.
another way. You can go to the source and do it. Okay.
On the
Okay.
source only we can do it. Okay,
Yeah.
fine.
Okay. So the fourth argument is counter. Okay. And then counter, we already have it, right? It is the employee counter. That's all. We are done. What it says. Function not found. Why is that? Owner. Let me check for the namespace 1 second. Okay, I would say okay here. Then I'm just doing a little tweaking since JDeveloper is not assisting me. I'm defining my own XPath here. Okay, we have it. It's already there. Why is it not coming? Just check for another thing. I just want, I mean, if it comes, then it will be easy for you, right? Because you are in the initial stages. So there is something crazy going on with this particular project. Let me take another one. See here you are having it. So under the BPEL XPath expression, BPEL XPath extended functions, you have something called get element, and here it is, or a get element, and then variable name, part name, location, and index. Okay, so something crazy is going on, but still we had the same problem with the XLD also on the other day for DVMs, but that's okay. As long as we know the syntax, that's good. Even if it doesn't give us the option, we always do it. Okay. Now coming to his question, like where do we write the comments? So when you click on the source, this is what you see, right? So here you can just, this is the comment, okay, syntax, and here you can write whatever you want. Okay, so maybe I'm saying like assigning nth element elements salary. Okay, as simple as this. This one, where is this? Okay, so basically just before the assignment, here I can put it. Okay, it will remain in the source forever, but you cannot see it here. I think there is a documentation. Okay, but I mean, I do something like this. Okay, but when you click on that only, you get it. Okay, so both are same actually, but visibly you cannot see it. You need to go to the source. Okay, so what I did is basically assign nth element, or say nth elements salary. Where are we? I'm sorry for the confusion. Okay, okay. So here in the currency conversion, okay. So this is what we have done. So or a get element, we have given the variable name, part name, XPath, and the counter. Okay, we are done. Now you get a response here, right? So in the output variable, you have the amount in dollars. Okay. Now here is the tricky part. Okay. So this one, just try to understand it. Okay. Let me go to XML here. Okay. So finally, this is what I want in the output. Correct? Employee list and a list of employees. Okay. Now right now, when I am in the loop, I only have this part, correct? Inside the loop, I only have this one. Like I don't know what is the other one unless I go to the second loop. I don't know what is the second element. Okay, I have this. What I did is I have sent this 11,000 to the currency conversion service, and it would obviously give me the response salary in INR as say 67,000 or 67,000. Okay, maybe, or something, some value. Okay, XYZ. Let's not calculate it right now. 11,000 into 67. Okay, now what I want to do is my response. What is my response? My response type is, when you do it, it doesn't look confusing. Okay, so don't worry. So my response has to be full name and salary. Okay, so my full name is there. So what I want to do is I want to copy the full name from the nth element. Okay, and then what is the other tag? Other tag is salary, right? So I want to have the other salary, and the value is basically response from web service, correct? So I want something like this, like employee and then end employee. Okay, so this is my requirement. So I have this within the loop. Okay, now as you go on the loop, like you get first element, second element, third element, and so on. So I have only this in scope. Now I want to convert this into this format. Okay, and in this format I just don't want to convert, like I want to use the response from the web service also. Okay, so in order to first of all build this tag, you need to create a variable. Okay, because the only variable that you have is in this format, which we don't want. Our output is of this format. Okay, this is where the types come into picture. If you remember, like I have defined the type also, right? So employee is this one, full name and salary. This is what I get in the response, a list of employees, but I have also defined a type. Okay, so why I have defined a type is basically I want this type variable, right? So I will create a local variable called, so just click on this X icon here within the for each loop, and I'm creating a variable, and I would say individual employee, or I would say underscore processed, so that you know, I mean, processed employee is basically, this is individual employee that you are getting, and then this is kind of like processed, okay, or transformed or whatever, give an appropriate name so that you understand what it is. Okay, and what is its type? Its type is individual employee type. See, here you see only types, whereas when you're creating the visitors and people, you see only the elements. Okay, and I say okay, done. I have created the type, so now I have this variable. Only thing is I have to stuff the data here. So I will just stuff it here. So I would say assign uh, web service response. Okay, and also the name. Okay, so what is my value here? So this is what I want to stuff. Okay, and I have the full name in the nth element. Okay, so same as the earlier one, just full name. I would say aura get element. Okay, I'm taking so much time to explain you this because this is one of the most common things that you would see in your projects. Okay, but once you do it like twice or thrice, this will be very easy. First time you might not understand it, but just try to like get as much as you can with this one. So the third one is the XPath, and the fourth one is counter. You already have the counter, employee counter. Okay, done. So what am I doing? I am assigning I just read the response into a string, the next part, it in a loop, it is simple. Yeah, I mean, you can still do it, but here what's happening is, okay, you want to append the response of each and every invocation into a string and then do it in an XSLT. Yes, you can do it. Okay, and then salary, I have it here. currency conversion. Okay, and then say done. Okay, what Tommy asks is, like, for each and every invocation you get a response, right? So why not you like add up all that response, so you get uh, one complete XML response, and then you can traverse it through XLT. You can do it. That would be simple. Okay, what if we have 100 elements? Like, if you have more mappings, like, you need to do it. Other way is you can do it in an XLT. Like, instead of an assign, you would have an XLT, so that it's much easier. Okay, but assignments always have to be done, whether it is 100 or 200. Yesterday I've shown you, right? Like, there are like 50 assignments. Assignment is always has to be done. Okay, so now that we have a single response that we wanted to send, okay, but ultimately I want the final response that I wanted is an array of these kind of responses, right? Now, after this loop, okay, so once you are done with this, you get these two elements, like whatever we have seen here. Okay, so the moment it is done here, okay, it again goes back. So again this variable refreshes, and again it goes with the second employee. Okay, so the first one is gone. So after this, you want to append each and every response. Like, you have first employee's result, right? So after that, in the next loop, you will get the second employee. Next loop, you will get third employee. So all this you want to like append. Okay. So where do you append? Where you append is, you'll create another variable. Okay, I would say employee list processed. Okay, or say transformed, which is of type employee list type. Okay, because that is what I wanted to send as the final response. Okay. Now this is little tricky. Okay, so I would say append the response, not assignment, but append response. Why am I saying append response is, my second value should have to be appended to this, right? Like, initially only this will be the variable, next it will be a combination of 2, next is combination of 3, right? Okay, so what am I appending? Where is our process? Okay, individual and employee transform. Okay, so this is my individual transformed employee. Okay, and this is the employee transformed list, right? So under this list, like, I have multiple employees. So what we will do is, this transformed one, like, I assign it to the employee list type, like one way above. Okay, this is little tricky, just see. I'm assigning it one way above. Okay, and I say, just right click on this and say change rule type to append. So till now everything is copy list, so we are basically assigning it, but here I am saying append. Okay, that is the only difference. Why am I saying append is because I want to append the list, whereas when I just say copy list, this one will get replaced by the second one, it gets replaced by the third one, and so on. When I say append, it gets added. Okay, so the only difference is, so here if you see, it is a copy. Okay, whereas if you see at the left here, it is plus icon here, which is appended. So you do 10 loops, like all the 10 would get appended here, and then finally you want to send it as a response. Okay, so assign final response. Then what you want to do finally? Okay, did I make it as a local variable? Okay, I want to make it as a global variable. So okay, let's do. See, I defined this employee list as a local variable, right? That's why I'm not able to see it here. So I want to convert it into a global variable. Like what you can do is you can delete it here, okay, and then put it in the global scope, or instead you can just go into the source, you know where it is, okay, just cut it from there and then paste it in the initial. This is one of the reasons why you want to learn the source code of BPEL. Okay, so now I will have it employee list transform, okay, and my output employee list I will just assign, and then I'm done. Okay. So this is how you loop through arrays. Okay, so what we did is for each employee, so you know what are the parameters here, we invoked it, okay, and then we got the response, and then we have appended, we have created a new list type, and then we are being appending the list, and then finally we're sending it to the response. Okay, so let's try to deploy it. Yes, next class is on Tuesday. Let's try to deploy it and see if it works, because we have defined it ourselves, right? It was not showing up, but let's see, most probably it should work. But even if it doesn't work, that is the way to do it. Okay, uh, I'm just looking at the comments that Tommy sent. XPath with an index. Yes, you can do it. So what Tommy says is, like, instead of aura get element, can't I use the XPath? Yes, you can use something like this. Like full name. Okay, and then we can say here counter, dollar counter. This one also works, but basically this has to be in a string, so you should say something like concat. Okay, but basically even indexing in the XPath also works. Like both are there, but I always feel aura get element is much easier than that, because it is more readable than indexing. Okay, so whether it got deployed, let's hope for the best. Where is it? Looking for image. Oh, only this one took like 1 hour. That's fine. Aura get element, the XPath expression is invalid. The reason was error in extension function. Or it is saying there is some problem with this. Oh, sorry. This has to be comma, and then part 1 has to be in single quotes. This one has to be in single quotes. Okay, and where is the other one? Yes, this one already has single quotes. Okay, it went. It is now it should work. It's done. Okay. Okay, you have options to actually chunk the response. I mean, Within BPEL you cannot directly do it, like you can do it in a Java embedding activity, or you could actually introduce a mediator, and mediator can chunk your XML into parts. Okay, so if your file is like 1 GB, this in response to Tommy's question. So if your file is like 1 GB, you don't have to load whole 1 GB into memory, right? So you can actually chunk it. Let's see what's there this time. Full name it is same. Let's try to see this response. No control output visible. Let's see, try full name. How come the other one is working and this is not working? Just trying to understand this. So you are assigning an employee. The syntax is absolutely perfect. Why is it not working? Just a moment. Just let's see. Let's try to figure out the issue. Inspect variable name. What is the call? Let's try to delete it. Okay, so we just redid it. once and then it was working fine. Okay, maybe there was a kind of like a simple mistake like a single quote or something, but okay. So let's look at the launch flow trace. What's happening is first we got the array of employees, okay, like 6 employees here, and then we started the for loop. Okay, in the for loop, like we invoke for the first employee's salary, we invoke the service, and then we got the response. Okay, and then what we did is we use the response, and then we use the full name of first employee. Okay, like we use the nth expression and then got it, and then we have kept it in a variable. Okay, so here we have only one employee here, and in the second loop like the same thing happened. So here we have got the second employee's result. Okay, but if you observe the append response, like you have two. Okay, since you have used appending, it is appending it. The default is copy, so it would actually replace your variable, but here it is appended. So the same way, like we have appended everything, and then we finally got the result. So this is one way of doing stuff. The other way is like you can go into the for loop, but instead of this one, you can actually append the response. Okay, whatever response you got, you append it into a single variable. So you have a single variable with 10 different salaries. Okay, and then you have employee list, right, which has 10 different employees. Then you can actually transform those two variables into a single variable using the Excel. Okay, so that's another way of doing it. Okay, so this is how you use a for each. Okay, and let me quickly show you how to use while, since I don't want to take another one. Okay, so how to use a while is also, I mean, it also works similarly. Okay, so how it works is while you need to give a condition. I would say while more employees. Okay, and what is the condition? Condition is while the count of, or I mean, you will have to do a little something extra. So let me use a sequence here so that you know the boundary. Okay, or maybe let me use a scope. So scope underscore while usage. Okay, so you can actually forget about what we have done till now, like the for each is one way of doing it, and while is one way of doing it. Okay, so for while, what you do is you drag and drop. Okay, so what while does is it will check for the condition. Okay, what is your condition? Your condition would look something like this, right? I less than count. Okay, so for that you want what is the total count and what is the current counter, same as for each. Okay, but since while is like more basic operation, you have to initialize those variables. So I will have a assign activity wherein I would say assign counters. I'll do this quickly. Okay, and then I'll have two variables here. I will say var current counter, which is of type integer, and then say another variable var total count, which is also of type integer. Okay, and then here I will initialize them. So my current counter would be, I would initialize it to 0. Okay, and then the total count would be count of number of employees, right? So number of employees is there in this variable, count of employees. Okay, so I know what it is. So if I compare it to the Java analogy, it is for I is equal to 0, I less than count. Okay, so similarly, so for I is equal to 0, I less than count. Okay, so let's define the condition here, while more employees. And what is the condition? The condition is very simple. While your current counter is less than your total counter, because while loop starts from 0, okay, whereas for each starts from array starts from 1. So I say while counter less than total count, what I want to do. And inside this, you will do the exact same thing. Like you can use either indexing or the or a get element. Okay. So maybe as an exercise, what I'll ask you to do is like create a variable. I will say total salary. Excuse me, an integer. Okay. As an exercise, what you do is now you know how to get the nth element, right? So you have the whole employee list in a variable. What you do is in your loop, like try to get salary from each of the element salary and then try to add it. Okay. So the pseudo logic would be something like this. So inside this one, you would say salary is equal to your total salary, or total salary is equal to total salary plus nth element salary. Okay, and then you get it just like how you do it in Java. And then don't forget to increment the counter, otherwise it goes on like forever. Okay, so you do it as an exercise. I will actually finish it off and then I'll send you the whole project. Okay, so you can check it as a reference. We also wanted to cover the event today, but it didn't happen. Events is like a very simple 15-minute topic. Okay, so we will do that first and then we will look at human tasks. All right, so any questions? Okay, indexing, yes, you can do indexing. So probably what you want to do is instead of using or a get element, you use indexing. Okay, like you can just create a square basis and do it. Any questions?